Does the rapture happen in September 25 on Rosh Hashanah? Hi there. There's this thing going viral about different people who claim to have had a revelation directly by Yeshua or have had a vision or something like a dream. So I don't say it cannot be, but be very careful with prophets or people who tell you visions and dreams. It's apart from the fact that we true believers, or I call myself a knower, not a believer, have to be ready all the time. Have to be ready means do the right thing always. And this means holding God's commandments, Yeshua's commandments, which are in the Torah, and have the testimony of Yeshua, like the Revelation says it, the Revelation of John. So one of the two will not make it. So, by the way, Jews have it wrong. In September we have never, or October we have never Rosh Hashanah. The Rosh Hashanah, God tells them to have attention, you rabbis, is the 1st of Nisan, or Abib. The month Pesach happens. So Rosh Hashanah is mainly Yom Teruah, and this is the King's Day, where 100 times trumpets, horns are blown. So if Yeshua will come back, I really think it will be on Yom Teruah. It's King's Day. But beware of false prophet. This is what Yeshua tells us in Matthew chapter 7. Right? I would be happy if we would be raptured before the big tribulation comes. But I doubt it, because Yeshua has taught us things that go in the very contrary. So, Yeshua told us in Matthew 24, take heed. And like this, he begins his end time speech. Take heed, he says, that no one deceives you. That means our main task always is and will be forever that we stay strong in his commandments and in the testimony of Yeshua himself, and that we are not deceived by anybody. They call themselves Christians. They tell us they obey the Bible, whatever. But this is the code, The bad ones, the evil ones, have for a long time understood that they only have to say it's Christian or it's written, and then the stupid Christians believe anything, even the most evil stuff. They told us it's Christian to get toxic injections. No, it's not. So all this has to be checked. Take heed that no one deceives you. This is the overall commandment that Yeshua gives us for these so-called end times. And then you should read Matthew 24. And I am strongly convinced that this first sentences he speaks with his disciples, right? And the you is meant for them. And this is proven historically that basically all his disciples have been put to death because of his name. And this is what he's telling us here. They will deliver you up to tribulation and kill you and so on. This, I think it was meant for his direct disciples, the first and second generation. And then, in my opinion, he goes on to the real end times. There's a shift in his speech. And then he ends. And by the way, he says also, then many false prophets will rise up and deceive many. Yeah? So, and then he ends his speech. You should read the speech yourself in your own language translation, and go in the Hebrew and check in the Greek and check what he's really saying. And then he ends his speech. He tells us, and this doesn't sound anything like rapture at all before tribulation times. He tells us, but who, I'm quoting now, but who endures to the end shall be saved. To my ears, this sounds as if we have to go ourselves as knowers and believers through the mark of the beast times, through the end times, and not taking part in all of this. And by this proof, make bulletproof our faith. Right? And then he ends this speech and he says, then when it's all ended, the tribulation, the earthquakes, the bad times, etc., then only, after all those heavy times, he says he will come in the sky, his sign will show up, and all the people, all the tribes will bow their knees towards him and adore him. And only then finish, right? Only then, after all this, he will send out his angels to gather the elect. And I'm quote ending, to gather the elect. And I'm pretty sure that the elect will be the ones who did not collaborate with the evil, who resisted the evil, and who did not take anything they wanted to give us. No sign, no jab, no chip, no nothing. I'm pretty sure that this will be the elect and nobody else. So you have to check this on your own. Don't believe anybody. You have to stay strong yourself. I can only, on top of this, tell you what the highest spoke towards Moses, this real word of the highest God. And when they write Lord here, the tetragrammaton is meant, the Yod He Vav He, and obviously, like Nehemiah Gordon found out, the outspoken old name of the highest is Jehovah, right? So you have to check this. Nehemiah Gordon in Root Awakening, check this speech. It's pretty good, I think. But normally we don't know really how the tetragrammaton has to be spoken up because the Israelites, try to avoid this, which is also wrong because the highest himself says to use his name. But anyway, in fifth book of Moses, chapter 18, the highest one speaks about prophets and false prophets. And you should read this so you're prepped. And there it says, when a prophet speaks in my name of the Lord, and if the word does not come to pass or come true, then it's a word the Lord has not spoken. The prophet hath spoken it presumptuously, and you shall not be afraid of him. Quote end. I think to not be afraid of him means we should expel those guys out of any congregation and not listen anymore to them. They should be not allowed anytime anymore to climb any kind of pulpit and mislead people there. And it goes on with the speaking in the name of Jehovah in this chapter 18. But a prophet who presumes to speak in my name anything I have not commanded, or in the name of strange gods, is to be put to death. It's a death sin to speak false prophecies. And we also see this in the case of Jeremiah, the false prophet who told the king to stay and not to hand over to Nebuchadnezzar, was dead within a year. So put to death, right? This is not funny, this prophecy things. And I always be very careful to speak anything in his name. I'm very careful about that. Now, one thing I can give you by my own experience, I want to stay very close to his Torah and to the testimony of Yeshua. And I have experienced something in my own life and spirit. In the last years, I always had the tendency, almost an urge, to buy storage things. Also in the sea times, you never knew when the supply chains break down or whatever. So I've stored cans and water and such things. And some month ago, it shifted within me. I have no urge anymore to buy anything. I'm on consuming now everything I have stored. I have the feeling it must be eaten and taken, and not. I have the feeling that I should not buy any kind of storage anymore. Now, I don't know where this comes from. Maybe it's really a sign that he is coming back sooner than I thought or we think, or that he maybe really takes us out of the game, the real believers and knowers, before the chip times come. Because, when you're not allowed to buy and sell anymore without having the mark of the beast, then it's not possible to survive. So it might be that he takes his elect and puts him in a special place, city in between the worlds. I don't know. But this is my own experience. This is not a prophecy. It's my own experience. I was very astonished about that. So you have to check this by your own. Check the Bible, check the Torah, check chapter 18, check the end time speeches. Don't believe the letters, except the letters of Yeshua himself, which we find in the Revelation of John. All time when I say this, read the letters of Yeshua, so-called Christian and pastors say, we have no letters from Yeshua. Yeah, that shows exactly that you should never climb any pulpit. Any Christian who tells Yeshua hasn't given us letters should not be climbing any kind of pulpit. He is not well educated and he's misleading you. We have letters from Yeshua himself sent by his angel to John, to Yohanan, in Revelation of John, the 7 letters to the 7 congregations. And it could be that we are Laodicea, and you can see that how lukewarm many of churches, almost all of them, are. Preaching an easy gospel. They don't preach repentance. They don't preach how it goes. They don't preach making amends and reparation towards their victims. Therefore, better read the word forgiveness, the problem with the right cheek. There it's all well described based on the original text. So prepare, be righteous, follow the laws, and have the testimony of Yeshua. This is the required thing. Check it your own. You will be not able to stand before the highest, saying, oh, I just believed my pastor. I think Yeshua allowed these crazy times with the internet and all the bad stuff that happens there only because of one reason, that everybody in the world, and there are many who have access to the internet, will be able to search what the real belief is, to read the Bible. Bible is online anywhere, in any language, especially in English, but also in many other languages, even in small languages that are not spoken so much. I think this is the only reason why he allows this crazy stuff, right? So you have to check this by yourself. And you cannot also, I think it will not be valid in front of him to say, oh, I just didn't know. You could know. Research. Take your spare time researching his word, the laws, his teachings, and the right interpretation of it. Many pastors and churches interpret it willfully wrong so they can have an easy life, right? So you have to be very aware of that. And You won't come through, in my opinion, saying, oh, my pastor told something else. Then maybe you will hear the question of the highest end. Didn't you have a Bible? Didn't you have internet access? Why didn't you research? Why did you rather prefer to sit in front of TV series on Netflix or desperate whatever series instead of researching my word and learning Hebrew and Greek? You will have no excuse. I'm pretty sure of that. There will be very few people have excuses. And I'm very sure that one excuse will not be valid in front of him also. To say, I just did my job. I had to plunder and collect taxes like Matthew. Matthew did it too. I had to collaborate. It was my job. I only did my job. And the so-called authorities, by the way, it's an open secret in the meantime that all countries are just firms, with DUNS numbers and so on. Even politicians say it into our faces. So you will have no excuse saying it was just my job. I did my job. I just did my job. And I didn't want to lose my job. No. By the way, Yeshua, look it up, took every person he had chosen out of his or her job. He took Peter, Shimon Peter, out of fishing. He took Matthew out of tax collecting, and so on. So maybe this shows us something. You will have no excuse. We will have no excuse. Yes, but check the prophets. Be firm in the true words of God, which we find in the books of Moses and in Yeshua's preaching. And don't believe the letters. They have changed quite some things. I have checked it. And also in the normal New Testament, you must be careful also. Many things are wrongly translated. Purposefully, I think. So, yeah, therefore, it's no way around. You have to go into the Greek. You have to go into the Hebrew to really know what's written there. Okay, but my main issue here is be careful with those prophecies and be very aware who's uttering them. And if it's not coming to pass, you have to exclude those people. There's no way around it. God even says there's death penalty on wrongly prophesying. Okay, so be aware of all of this and do the right things, right? At the right time. Bye.